Okay, hallelujah. Mishpachah. The Masoretic text versus the Hebrew scripture is going to be very important because we have to understand this word right here. Okay, that word there is, in Hebrew, it is sham. Guess what? Because of the vowel pointing system by the Masoretic text, we have Shem. See, we got some Hebrew scholars here. Hallelujah. So, we have to be able to identify the name. And the name that we're looking to identify properly is this name right here. The Yod, Hey, Hu, Hey. The way that we're pronouncing it here in the congregation of Yashra'al, this right here makes what sound? So we have Yah. This sound right here is what?
That's the H, the ha.
This right here makes what sound?
The O.
Right. O. And this sound right here makes the... That's the final. So whenever you see this symbol here at the end of a word, it doesn't take on a ha sound. It takes on a ah sound. All right? That's just basic Hebrew grammar. And so that the way that we're doing this now, correctly pronounced, the way that I'm seeing it, is that you have Yah, which is the Yod, and the Hey, said together, Yah, because it's not Yah. It's not Yahuah. So we have Yah, and then we have the Yod, which is Hu. So we have Yahu, Yahuah. Okay, Yahuah. That would be about the best pronunciation. A lot of times you hear me say Yahuah. So, but I find this way more correctly. Yahuah.
Or Yah. Yahuah.
Yeah, Yahuah. Right, exactly. All right? So, how do we come to all of this? Just like in kindergarten, whenever your mom started to work with you, she had to teach you your alphabets. All right? So we have in the Paleo Hebrew, we have our alphabets. We said this before. We have okay, so we have the Aleph, the Bet, the Gimel, the Dalet, the Hey, the U, the Zayin, the Ket, the Ta, the Yod, the Kaf, the Lamed, the Mem, the Nun, the Samek, the Sadeh, Hey, Tazah, the Kuf, the Resh, the Shin, and the Ta. That would be your Paleo Hebrew, but my handwriting is sloppy, so this is how your imam would actually share this with you as you're growing up. Each one of these Hebrew characters is represented by a number. The Aleph represents the number 1, the Bet 2, and so forth. But when you get to the Yod now, the Yod represents the number 10. The Kuf now represents the number 20, the Lamed, the number 30, the Mem, 40, the Nun, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. The Kuf represents the number 100. The Resh represents the number 200, 300, 400. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And Hebrew is read which way?
Right to left.
Right to left. So these are some of the basic rules that we're going to need to understand in order to get a better understanding on the name. All right? This is a Shemitic language. This is not a Sephardic language. This is not a language of the Ashkenazi Jewish people. Because you notice how they talk, there's a lot of guttural.
Right.
Yiddish. Yeah.
Right.
But if you now go to like some of the Arabic countries and the way that they pronounce things, but there's a tribe of people, they're Edomites, but they're called Shasu. The Shasu people. They are Edomites, but they have a town amongst the Shasu or the Edomites that was called Yahuah. We get into that a little bit the next time I speak. They had a city there called Yahuah. And I say that to say now is that when you go to like the Igbo tribes, a lot of the ancient cultures, the nations of people, they don't speak the same way that they speak. So when these so-called Jews took over the language, took over our land and our name and everything like that, they applied grammar rules based upon the way that they speak and not according to the ancient Middle Eastern countries here. They were the Khazars, the one that dwelled up in the caves of the mountains, or whatever the bestiality and all the craziness that they were doing there. They took that, hijacked our language, and made it into their own. So even the language that I'm speaking to you right now, it is a derivative of Hebrew, but it's a bastard language. This is a mud language. It's going through so many different transitions where we've now lost the full meaning of how to even talk. Now the Aramaic, we have the alphabet this way. This would be Ta, this is the Ta, and this is the Te. And we have Fe. Okay, we have Tizah. We have Wa, Resh, Sheen, and the Tau. And so again, everybody remembers how many letters are in the Hebrew alphabet, right? 22. So this right here now would be your Aramaic. And again, we already showed the difference between the two. Now notice something here now, is that this is our olive, and this is the olive in Hebrew. The olive represents, it's a picture of an ox head. So if I was to draw this properly, it will look like an ox head. What this here now doesn't look like an ox head. So a lot of the characters in the ancient Hebrew or the Paleo Hebrew actually looks like farming of equipment because we were an agricultural people. Also, what's interesting now is that once we learn the alphabet, we have to also understand that we do have 22 consonants, but we have to understand that we did have vowels. There were vowels in Hebrew. Anybody know what those vowels were? Are? Aleph. The U. Okay. The A. Uh-huh. Onion. Okay. So, and what's interesting about this now is that you can find 3 of these letters in the Father's name. Anybody know what those letters are? Okay. So we have the Yod. Okay. We have the Hey. Okay, we have Who. So those are the 3 letters that's in the Father's name that we actually have also as vowels. And then we have the Ayin. And then we have the Yod. So we already have the Yod. We have the Aleph. Excuse me. So those would be your 5 consonants there. And what I wanted to share is one more thing in this regard. When we begin to look at the Hebrew language, we have another thing that we have to learn. And one day what we're going to do is that we'll go over reading Genesis, the 1st chapter through 7, because if you can master reading Genesis, the 1st chapter through verse 7, chapters 1 through chapter 7, everything else pretty much becomes redundant, the words, so it's really not hard. Reading Hebrew is very, very easy. It's going to take a little time, but it becomes almost like second nature. And I try to do it as easy as possible. Now, the grammar rules to the vowel pointing system is real easy. Now, first of all, let's do this. It's called the Nikud system. Nikkud. The word Nikud just means dots. The dots are what's being used now to fill in the blanks between the consonants. Now, watch how easy this is. I can even share a YouTube site which is like elementary. Anybody can get it. They're using today's grammar rules for vowels, meaning this, that you're using A, E, I, O, U. That's all what they're doing. Now, I'm going to break this down here. Let's show how this works. So, this is an A, but in Hebrew they want this is going to be your A. And the E, this is going to be E as in egg. And the I is going to be, it's going to be an E. It's going to make an E sound as in green. And the O is going to make an O sound as in yellow. And the U sound is going to make an U sound as in blue. That's just how easy it is. But then you get to the Nikud now. So we have this symbol, you see this symbol underneath a letter. Let's say that letter there. If you had a vowel point under that, this would now make a, for example, what symbol, what letter is that? Anybody?
Bet.
Huh? Bet. Then what is this here?
Ba.
Right, that's the ba. This, right, this
That's
is
the one, that's the bet.
huh?
Wow.
Ba.
No, I'm saying the one without the dot.
Vex.
Right.
You're gonna just make you can either make a ba or a bet sound. Exactly. So we have, you see this symbol underneath, or let's see what's the other one. That one underneath, it looks like a T. And then you would have a dot here and 2 dots here. So whenever you see a letter and it has, if you had like a gimel, if you see this underneath the gimel, that's going to make a God sound. If you see this underneath, it's going to make a God sound. This sound is going to make a God sound. This sound is going to make a God sound. But the E as an A, you're going to see these 2 symbols here. That symbol where you're going to see the symbol going down this way, and you're going to see, I call it like a cluster of grapes. And then you're going to have another cluster of grapes. Yeah, another cluster of grapes, and then you're going to see 2 dots on the side of that. So if you've seen that gimel now with those 2 dots there, that's the cluster of grapes there now, that's going to make a geh sound. But if you've seen it again without that vowel pointing system, that this symbol or that symbol or this symbol with the 2 dots or this with the 2 dots is going to now make a ga sound. But again, these are just the rules that the Masoretics are using. And I would suggest that we learn it, especially when you're going over to the land, so that you can know how to pronounce and read signs correctly. All right, because we don't want to speak, like a broken language. Now, if you've seen this symbol, just 1 dot, it's going to make an eh sound as in green. An E sound as in green. If you've seen this sound, this consonant, that would be an U. And if you see this letter and you see a nakud on top of the letter, that's going to now make it an O sound. And the reason why I find that interesting is because it almost looks as if you're shooting a basketball and it's going like over the letter. It's going to now make an O sound. So if you had, let's say the U again, and if you had a vowel point in the middle, it's like punching this person in the stomach and the person goes, so it's making an ooh. It is an ooh sound, you're right. But it's like punching a person in the stomach, you're just making an ooh sound. That's the way I found it easy to remember. And if you find a dot and written like this, it's going to also make an ooh sound. So this is basically all that you're going to, for the most part, see with the vowel pointing system that the Masoretic text put together, and which is causing a lot of problems, because what's happening now is that you have a lot of the Masoretics, they're saying that the way that you pronounce the Father's name is Yahweh. So that becomes a problem, because we know that it can't be a W. It will never be a W, because this was a letter, it was a rendition for a letter that was, this letter is new to the alphabet.
Yeah, 2 B's.
Yeah, exactly. And when you read the King James Version, and what's interesting now is that when you read the King James Version, let me see if I have it here in my book here. I know in some of the King James Versions, I didn't even check mine.
You're talking about the first edition?
Right, yes, mine has it. Mine has, on the top page here, it's going to run down, but it has the Yod-He, Hu-He on mine here.
Right.
In the King James Version. So it does have the tetragrammaton, and that's what the 4 letters are called. They're called the tetragrammaton. Tetragrammaton. And that's the, again, the 4 consonants, the Yod, He, Hu-He. Let me see what else was there before I leave off with this here. So a W, if you say it real slow, that's exactly what it is. It's a double U. That's what it is.
Exactly.
It is making an ooh sound. So this would actually now be, I've seen some people write it, and use some more space here. I've seen some people write the Creator's name this way. Yeah. I've seen it done like that before.
Yeah, that's how we used to pronounce it. Yahuah. No. That's not even Yahweh. No. Right. That's Yahweh. Right. Exactly.
That's a lot of use.
Yeah, that's 3.
Yeah, that's 3.
Yahuah.
Yahuah. Exactly. Like the owl.
Yeah, because
you make an owl sound. Exactly.
When they're doing it that way, what I'm always asking, if you have the Yod, the He, and again, the Hu, hey.
Is that true?
Yeah, I'm like, where is I can see this.
Right.
I can see this. I can see this.
that.
And I can see
that.
this.
Where does that
Where is this at?
Right.
Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4. But why you're adding the extra U?
Right.
I didn't see how they were coming up with that. So if we can keep the basic principles where there were no, the letter J is new to the alphabet.
Right.
The letter E is new to the alphabet. The letter O is new to the alphabet. So there was nobody during the time of Moshe saying Yahweh. There was no E's and there were no W's, just like the letter J is only about 500 or 600 years old. We have some that are saying Yahuah and a whole lot of other words, but again, if we kept the rules simple, these letters, they're just new to the Hebrew alphabet. That's all what it is.
Yeah.
But again, this is not to cause problems or beef or anything like that between congregations and things like that, because I just want everybody to know at the same time too, is that there are no voice recordings that's found, okay? Moses didn't have an iPhone, he didn't have a tape player or anything like that. But what we're basically trying to do is look at some of the older Semitic languages, and again, the E and the W were, they're new to the alphabet. We do see like Yeshi, Yahu, Yekezikiel, we do see the Yahu and those names there. And again, culturally, as the nations were speaking, the E's and the O's and the I's were not being used. Even in the King James Version, a lot of times they're using the I. You might see it this way. You know, so there wasn't even identified.
That's the original, how they used to spell it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so, and the funny thing about it is that even amongst the Spanish people, when they, you wouldn't call a Spanish person Jesus. That's not,
it makes them hate stuff.
They get mad.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what is it, Jesus is what that is. So, just wanted to be real careful with grammar. So, that could become an issue. And one more thing, Mr. McCall, will be done, and then next time I speak, we get into more about the name.
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
Maureen, it's just like what you was talking about the grammar is important, because I think we went over that. I think it was in Kings, what we talked about with the Ephraimite, when he made the wrong pronunciation.
Yeah.
And they killed him.
Oh, yeah. They
killed
out
him.
of life and death.
Yeah.
Because you were able to actually identify certain tribes by the way that they spoke.
Oh, exactly.
The same way you can identify certain people the way that they speak. People from the south usually have a different dialect than people from the north. So you can say, hey, listen, he's from up north, or, you know, you're from down south. I mean, we all knew the sounds,
Right.
you know, the way that they spoke. But again, in ending, this right here is so important. Is Yod, Hey, Hu, Hey. I'm going to ask my super scholar to be very close attention. And anybody have the theological word book of the Old Testament? The lexicon is going to be very, very important. Yeah, extremely, extremely important. The etymology of studying of words, the strong concordance, just remember, the strong concordance is not a book to learn how to language. That's not what it is used for. Best that we can do with that is going to give us some definitions, but we have to either be careful with the definitions because of the vowel pointing system. Moses didn't have a strong concordance. All right, so we're going to have to really make sure that we understand what was going on here so that we won't make any mistakes with the grammar. Now, what I have on the board is the name of the Creator. And I've come to find out that for a lot of people, biblical Hebrew is a difficult subject for most of us. And I'm trying to think of the guy's name. It'll come to me. But biblical Hebrew is a difficult subject for most of us. We therefore usually rely on research done by others. watch this, but this is going to be the end of the class here, and trust that their conclusions are correct. But something is controversial, like the origin of the Heavenly Father's name. Most of us usually accept the conclusion of those scholars who are in the majority, without actually checking out their research for ourselves. That's going to be very important. You must do research. Unless we come up with somebody who's very eloquent, like Shia, so we can all, vouch for Shia, because Shia has the answers. So, why is this? The reason seems to be that people are intimidated by the technical nature of the ancient Hebrew, but does this need to be the case? Let's take a look at some facts surrounding the Heavenly Father's name. Now watch this now. In the Strong Concordance, it states that that Yahuah, and I'm going to write it the other way. We have Yod. Watch how this goes. And I found this interesting. In the Strong Concordance, this is the Masoretic text, it states that Yahuah is the Strong's number 3068. You already know where I'm going. Okay, it comes from the verb root hayah. Okay, we have hayah. Okay, let's write this down here. Hayah. There's a group that is saying that the Father's name is actually Hayah. It's what they're doing. The word Hayah means it's a verb, and a verb, it shows action. We'll get into that a little bit later on when we start to talk about first person, second person, singular, masculine, and feminine words here. So now the word Hayah is a verb, and it means to be. Now, to be is future tense. Okay, so this is future. Now, it's not complicated, but whenever you add, because you can add and drop letters in Hebrew. Prefix. Right. So that is Hayah. That means I. Whenever you see an olive in front of a word, it says that I am, or I will exist, or I will to be. And if you added a yod to it, we have he. So we have a he, and we have a yod, and we have an olive, means I will, or I will be. He will be. So again, it's still in the future tense. So what happens now is that the Strong Concordance, the number that they're giving is 1961. Watch this. I don't want Shabbat to say anything. They say that, because we have 3-letter roots and 2-letter roots. They say that the 3-letter root of this word is Hayah, which means to be. Now, this is what the Strong Concordance has, and it's actually in the theological workbook number, let me make sure I got the number correct. I think it's 438. Now, this is real easy. Shia, we have the Creator's name in Hebrew, even if you want to look at it in Aramaic. They have the 3-letter root word, which means they have the hey, the who, and the hey. What do you see wrong with that, or right with that? Because we're looking at the definitions, and we're trying to get an understanding of the Father's name. And what they're trying to do now is to actually break it down so that we can understand it. We had talked about when you put a yod in front of a word, okay, that means he, and the olive in front of the word is I. No worries. We got your sister. She's right behind you, but she was working with you 100%. We got Leah to help you out here. We have 4 consonants here. We have the Yod, the Hey, the Hu, the Hey. The Strong's Concordance in the Theological Workbook is saying that the Hey, the Yod, and the Hey is the 3-letter root word for this here. What do you see wrong with that? All right with it? No problem. This is our Shia. We have D-E-R-R-I-C-K. If I ask you, what is the 4-letter root of that word there? What would be the 4-letter root?
Brit.
So we would have the 4-letter word R-I-C-K, Rick. What if I told you now the 4-letter root word for Rick, for Derek, is not actually Rick, but it's actually T-H-O-N. If I sat up here and said, listen, Okoti, the word is Derek, the 4-letter root for Derek is not R-I-C-K, but T-H-O-N. What would you do? You say, you don't lost your mind. What in the world is that? So, again, when we check out root letters, how can the 3-letter roots be a hey, a yod, and a hey, when the 3-letter, the characters are yod, hey, hu, hey. The 3-letter root would be hu, the hey, hu, hey. You see what I just did?
Right.
Yeah.
This doesn't match this right here. But this is the way that we're led to believe and read definitions. So the 4-letter roots for Derek is R-I-C-K. R-I-C-K, not T-H-O-N. It can't be Hayah. And then we go into, what is it? Genesis 3:15? It's not Genesis, is it Genesis 3:15? When,
He gives the name?
right.
Exodus.
It's Exodus 3:15, right? It's Exodus 3:15. So, I am, and then he says, moreover, it talks about Yahuah is the name. So it's not a higher.
Right.
So we'll get into that a little bit later on. But I just wanted to share some things that kind of like common sense. If we just really sit back and think about it a little bit. And the fun thing with reading is that I really strongly suggest the Q Bible, because in any, as long as you can have like, it's called the Q. I write it down here. I think Zakar has it.
Yeah.
The Q Bible. And what you can do with that is it has the English, the Hebrew, the Strong's Concordance number, and you can actually look at it in Greek, and it gives you the complete breakdown. And just try, when you read, try to go through as many sources as you can, and when we shouldn't have any problems. So that's pretty much all that I have today, Mr. I just want to share with us a little grammar rules, and make sure that when you read it in English, that you try to read it in Hebrew, and try to stay away from the newly inspired versions and all this other stuff, because they do a whole lot of changing with the writings and everything like that. Just like the 3 editions that we get, it talks about, well, we talk about that later. But that's all that we have today, Mr. McCall, right? We'll be up here for another like 45 minutes to an hour. But I just wanted to share with the Mr. McCall some basics, understanding the Nakud system, the word Nakud means dots, understanding just for the basics now, the Hebrew alphabet, the Aramaic alphabet, the A-E-I-O-U, and how that whole thing breaks down with how we pronounce the words. We went into a little bit about the Masoretics. They didn't get the original copies of the writings. Some of the more original copies would be the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Letho Codex, and the Leningard Codex. These are some better editions. And a lot of this stuff now, you don't really have to buy. You can just download a lot of this stuff. So right now, we're just like, without